Good morning, Gateway Church. I just wanted to send you a quick video about our upcoming sermon series, which is called Practicing the Presence of God. I'm really excited about this. What is this and why are we doing it? Well, you know, sometimes as Christians, we can be just as stressed and anxious and burnt out as the rest of the world. I think partly because our culture goes at 100 miles per hour and we live in this culture and we get dragged along with it. Church life can easily become like that as well. And the demands of modern life are intense, and the technology, the wonderful technology that can be so useful, promises to help us with our busyness, but sometimes it can make it actually worse. And I think as well as Christians, we want to do things for God, don't we? We want to have an active faith where we serve, where we live out our faith in community. And that's brilliant. This is really, really good. Jesus had a very active faith and a very full life. But what we often forget in our tradition, what we often miss, is that Jesus, as well as being very active, he also withdrew. Jesus got away regularly from the demands, from the pressure, from people. Jesus really consciously took time with the Father. He meditated very regularly on Scripture. If you look carefully, we can see that. And he also knew how to have a lot of fun with his friends. And so in this short series called Practicing the Presence of God, we're taking 4 weeks to explore really the ancient Judeo-Christian practices, sometimes called the spiritual disciplines, that are vital to help us to withdraw and be with God. But when it says spiritual disciplines, you might think, oh, that sounds awful. No. These are life-giving practices that so many Christians throughout the world, throughout the centuries, have found so helpful. And so we want to learn from other Christians and other traditions how to take a deep breath of God's presence so that we can know his peace in a broken, fractured, sometimes totally disorientated, chaotic world. The challenges of the modern world aren't going away, and we will face challenges and stresses and strains in our life. But what we can do is learn to meet God in the midst of them. We can learn as a community and as individuals to center ourselves on God, the giver of life, and find joy, peace, and life in his presence. So as we come towards these 4 weeks, I just want to recommend 3 books and 3 practices. So first book that some people have read recently has been quite popular, partly because it was 99p on Kindle, so this is my Kindle version, is by John Mark Comer, an American pastor. I think he's in Portland. And his book is called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, How to Stay Emotionally Healthy and Spiritually Alive in the Chaos of the Modern World. And I think that says it all. I think his book, if you're not convinced, it really breaks down the problems we have in modern or postmodern life. And he starts to come up with some solutions, which we're going to look at. The next book I want to mention is by John Ortberg, a bit of an older one. Me and Hannah read this when we were first married, found it really helpful and put in practice 1 or 2 things that he recommended right early on in our marriage. And if you thought that Christian disciplines are legalistic or boring, this book will prove you wrong. Really easy read, really great. And the last one is by Richard Foster, an older book, I think from around the 80s, and it's called The Celebration of Discipline. And if you're really interested in really going further into the different spiritual disciplines like meditation, prayer, fasting, study, simplicity, solitude, submission, service, confession, and more, then this is a brilliant place to start, and it'll take you towards other books if you want to go even further. The last thing to say is that in the next few days, I hope to do a really short video on 3 great practices to help us start to think about these Christian disciplines. So the first is the Jesus prayer. The next one is something called a rule of life. And the third one is another way of praying called the examine. So I hope to do a short video on those, so look out for those. And Tim Green will be kicking us off this Sunday and just really excited about God, what God will do in our community at this time. Great. Have a good week.